Incremental readings. Yes, today my face is in full screen. That's a different video, what I'm used to do here in this channel. Today I want to share with you about the open source movement, or shall I say, movements of Supermemo. Supermemo. You know, that's nothing new. This have happened a lot of times. What has changed this year? I will try to go straight to the point, main points. Well, because today I got an email from Wozniak that, boom, it's on the topic. So you know, Supermemo, it's closed source. It's not democratic. We could say in a few words that Supermemo is how Piotr Wozniak wants it to be. For him, that's good enough. It works for him, so why implementing anything else, right? There's one quote I want to share. It's just the wording because it's nothing private. Piotr says, I see Supermemo 19 as all I need. You know that this year, 2023, finally, after 4 years, Supermemo 19 has been released. Yet, what? That's a major update. What's the update, right? It's just a few bug fixes. You can import from Chrome and Edge, which is still buggy today. And that's pretty much it. Well, according to him, it's all he needs. End of the story. Not democratic. Supermemo, it's not democratic. End of the story. Sadly. Then he says, my Supermemo, for him, Supermemo is Supermemo of our own in the community. OOO. So the open source Supermemo, let's say. So my Supermemo, what people propose, feels like writing the same thing differently. In community. Open source, etc. Lots of work, little value added. Supermemo is unexciting. So, I think you can take this to the grave. This is not going to happen. Not in this lifetime. So in other words, and I'm injecting my opinion here. I'm not quoting anymore. That, well, precisely that. For Piotr, Supermemo 19 is all he needs. So why implementing, I don't know, modern standards, proper PDF support, LaTeX support, proper video and audio, and so many things that I could list that are actually preventing me to use Supermemo for that purpose. Or it will be a much better experience, online backups, not just Windows, but anything else, any platform, this kind of thing, right? Well, based on what he says, and that's not no news for me, is that, yeah, there's little value added if you implement all of this, because he's not going to use it. So I think it's I don't share this, I understand, but I don't share this thought, because yeah, you are not getting the value. Someone else does. And not just one guy, but hopefully thousands, or if Supermemo was not niche, it will be into millions and so on, right? But I get that he is not getting any value because he won't be using any of those features. And that's more or less the hen and the egg issue. Is if you don't modify this, you don't update Supermemo to today's standards, the friction every time is increasing because the discrepancy it's longer and longer, it's more and more. Now millennials or now Generation Z that they have been raised with smartphones, and let's say that they grew older, 15 years. And they want to start with Supermemo, is what is this, right? For me, I am on the verge because I'm old enough that I experience Windows 98 and 95, those crappy interfaces. So although I don't like it the best, for me it's not a deal breaker. But for many people, what is this? It's a piece of a museum, right? I never seen in my life, which is true for them. So what will happen is that every time Supermemo will be more and more niche because it will be harder and harder to use it for new people. So people who were not even born, they didn't exist when Supermemo was released, right? The summary of what I would say is the official message is that officially there will be never, you can forget about it. There will be no open source Supermemo released by the Supermemo company. End of the story. Next is, okay, what happens this year? Because this year, 2023, I could say that it has been the strongest wave, because it's not the first time that people gather and want to make an open source project out of an open source Supermemo, a clone, or something even better. I have a website. I have an article on my website, link in the description. And I got this from many places, so I wanted to make a summary of everything. And this happened in 1999, in 1997, in 2004, 2008, and more recently. And never come to fruition. There has, yeah, and on top of that, you could say, hey, well, if I Google, I see some apps that say, claim, incremental reading. They are implementing incremental reading. Well, that's true, they are claiming that. I don't share this opinion. For me, it's not enough. They are implementing principles of incremental reading, but not enough to call it incremental reading. You may be familiar with the Piotr Wozniak list of requirements, the minimum definition of incremental reading, right? So why it didn't happen before? Because people who were interested, engaged, were not skilled enough or knowledgeable enough with programming skills to have a full-fledged app. Yes, some individuals release something, but it's without an interface. It's just in the command line. Specky, I think it's called. Then you have Dendro, which, yeah, it's online, but is absolutely simple, and it's way too simplified. But yeah, it's more or less the idea. It's a good starting point, but it's nothing I can use for incremental reading. And if I am strict, personally, I cannot call it incremental reading. And then you should say, hey, there's an open source add-on for Anki called incremental reading. The same. It's based on the principles. It's not incremental reading. Not the same experience, not the same method. No priorities, or in Obsidian, or any other PKM, personal knowledge management. So I just wanted to bring to your attention, in case you are not in Discord, and you see this video today, is in Discord, it has been this year. I know, 6 months, 9 months, I don't know how long exactly. There's a specific place for Supermemo of our own to discuss it and so on. Now, it also goes in waves of activity and it comes inactive once again. But it has been, so I should say, to summarize, that it has never been so strong as today, yet it's still far for making it happen, for making it a reality. And if it's not done by the community, it won't be done for the company. Because more or less the argument always find from Wozniak is that, there's not enough people. You are just when you report bugs that it's not going to be fixed, because it's a trade-off, right? The amount of time to fixing that issue to the amount of people requesting it is not worth it, right? Because he's not actually using this. So for him, it makes no difference. More or less, I'm simplifying. So if you ask me my genuine opinion, that I invested a lot of time with Supermemo, not just the software, but in the community and even in the kind of officially, I could say, so in the wiki, beta testing and so on. I love it, but I love it for what it is, for incremental reading, for what it's implementing. I don't love it for how it's doing it, because it's super old, outdated, adds friction, and there are many things that I could benefit from that I could not do, because the implementation is way too primitive, or it relies on doing it manually, and many things that should. I prefer doing it in another place, even if I have no algorithm, because at the end of the day, I have better outcomes. So I won't expand this any longer. I'll do a recap of the event when it comes. Now let's see the future. How wrong I am today, and how Supermemo can prove me wrong. See you incrementally.